One's guess. He's going to try to unite this party, though. Joining me now to discuss, Congressman from Florida, Greg Steube, a member of the House Ways and Means Committee. Congressman, appreciate you coming on, sir. The biggest question here is, are they willing to go, are the conservatives in this party willing to actually go the distance and say, no, we are getting a wall, we are getting these things, we are cutting the budget, and we are voting for nothing until that happens?
Yeah, and I think a lot of us standing strong on our principles have caused the caucus to realize that if we don't pass an appropriations bill that has H.R. 2, which is our border bill, shutting down the border, shutting our version of an immigration package, that it's a no-go for us. Because the American people, look, the American people didn't put Republicans in control of the House, who has the purse strings to acquiesce and do continuing resolutions with Democrats. That's not why they sent us here. So we need to do our job. We realize that we don't have the Senate and the White House, so even more so we need to act from conservative principles to bring them in and come to our position. Now, we realize we're not going to get everything that we wish for, but at least the House is going to stand on Republican principles and pass a bill that drastically reduces spending and shuts down the border.
Well, that's the thing, too, is like, look, Democrats will never vote for a wall. So as long as that is in there, you don't have to worry about any Democrats crossing over to make up for the conservative votes that are not going to go for, whatever hullabaloo they put in there. But the bigger question here is, Joe Biden has taken this hard stance. He's like, I'm not negotiating at all. It's like, well, can you guys muster the PR war this time to make sure that it's his shutdown and not the Republicans?
Yeah, and that is why it's so important that we pass a bill. I just left our committee conference, and I think we have some agreements on some top-line numbers, which would be like a 26 to 30% decrease in overall spending, holding defense spending, and holding VA spending, but all these other government agencies, some of which I don't even think should exist, we cut that funding by 26 to 30%. With the border protection issues, with shutting down the border, building the wall, all of those type of things, send that to the Senate and then dare them to shut down the government. And quite frankly, I'm fine with the government shutting down to stand on our principle that we are not okay with an open border. We are not okay with Democrats' open border policies and spinning us into oblivion. And it's time to stand still. I believe that the top line number was $1.71 trillion, which would put us on a path in 10 years to bring down the deficit.
Congressman, your voice is like a symphony to me right now. It's fantastic. Senator Rand Paul joined the show yesterday and shared some thoughts. Take a listen to what he said about this spending saga.
The goal should never be to shut the government down, but it's also irresponsible to keep it open, and keep the status quo and keep spending $1.5 trillion more than comes in. About 70% of government we have money for. Let's decide the 70% that we actually have to have and keep that 70% open and start trimming everywhere else.
Well, so, Congressman, the question is like, look, when these shutdowns happen, they inevitably are a bunch of people, lower-ranking people. Like, look, I was an E5 in the military. I know it's going to hurt to not get a paycheck for 2 or 3 weeks. They send you home, you get a 3-week vacation, and then they back pay you when you come back for being on vacation. Can we make it sensible in the sense that, hey, look, sorry, if Joe Biden doesn't fund the government, then guess what? You're not getting back pay.
Well, and it's just non-essential government workers. It's not people like you that were enlisted. Defense is going to be held harmless. FBI, DOJ, unfortunately, some of those should be defunded, but they'll continue to get a paycheck and do their job. And I think when I first got elected, we had a shutdown, and I think the only people not getting paid were our national parks people. So it's non-essential individuals, and I agree with the senator 100%. If we have to take a stand and it means that Schumer and Biden are going to shut down the government, then let them do it so we can have a win on the border, so we can have a win on cutting spending. It is our obligation as the House. We control the purse strings to stand strong for the American people.
Yeah, well, thank you, sir. Make them blink first. Congressman, have a great week.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Well, before we go, the UN